All of this, I think, leads to the Holy Week question that has baffled Christians through the ages, but must be asked again and again. How does Jesus save us? That Jesus saves is the central claim that Christians make that make Christians Christian. And yet, how that happens has never been clear. Among the most common answers are two. First, Jesus saves us from our sins by doing for us what we cannot do for ourselves. And second, Jesus is our example, who teaches us how to live a life of love that changes us as we live like Him. The first begins with the idea that our sin separates us from God, whose righteousness demands a sacrifice to atone for sin and set things right. Jesus is that sacrifice given on our behalf. And in this view, God offers Jesus as the innocent who stands in for the guilty and pays the penalty for us. We then accept Jesus' gift and are made right with God. Have you heard this one? This begs the question, though. Why a merciful God who made human beings and knows our frailties would expect so much from those who are destined to fail? This does not speak well of God's character. Right? And then to pour out God's wrath on the Son, even if the Son agrees to it, makes it all seem an unnecessary transaction, if not abusive. Besides that, it doesn't account for what will become of us afterward. I mean, how will we be different once we are relieved of our guilt burden that has been accomplished by someone else? How will we be changed so that we don't continue to sin and need a sacrifice to be made over and over again? The second view is that Jesus is a moral teacher who is an example to us of how we also might live. Now, this has the advantage of schooling our nature and changing us and making us new people. But then Jesus is just a teacher of wisdom like any other great religious sage. And this view does not account for why dying on a cross would be necessary, right? So we're now to the point where we can see that both things are important but need altering, right? Christ had to die, and we have to be changed. So what's really going on in this story that brings about our salvation? In his allegorical children's book series, The Chronicles of Narnia, C.S. Lewis portrays this better than most. The lion, Aslan, is the Christ figure, and he allows himself to be killed so that the evil powers will release those who are hostages. The idea of this exchange is proposed by the evil powers. The sacrificial process known from the earliest times is the law that an innocent one may die on behalf of others and so free them. It is called deep magic from the dawn of time. The evil powers love this arrangement, and incidentally, have no intention of keeping the bargain after Aslan is dead. So the resurrection comes into this story as an unexpected development from what Aslan calls the deeper magic from before the dawn of time, something about which the evil powers knew nothing. And when Aslan rises, the ancient stone altar on which the sacrifice was offered cracks and crumbles, never to be used again. The gospel, then, is ultimately not about the exchange of victims, but about the ending of bloodshed and this whole charade. The point is that God is not the one who requires the sacrifice. The evil powers of the world do. We do. And we need to stop. When the innocent victim accepts the terms of the violent world, we then can see how wrong the whole thing is. The power of evil over us is broken by our seeing what a fraud it is, and we may then live as free people. By adopting his way of sacrificial love for others, and taking the suffering of others into ourselves instead of putting the blame on others to relieve ourselves, then we share in his resurrection power and are saved.